is up, guys? Welcome back to Planet Cryos. What I want you to do is grab yourself a drink, a snack, a comfy chair, and join me on this 11th gen build. Well, the time has come, guys, where I want to do my black and white build that I discussed on my previous video, so let's get to it. Alright, here we have the Asus ROG Strix Z590E Gaming Wi-Fi motherboard as my choice for the motherboard. And to pair it, we have the Core i9-11900K. And for the RAM, I have chosen the Corsair Dominator Platinum RGB 32 gigabyte kit, which is two 16 gigabyte sticks each, and this is running at 32 megahertz each. And we will be turning XMP on this build. And for the storage, I have chosen the Samsung 980 Pro 1 terabyte. This is the PCIe 4.0 NVMe M.2 SSD. And for the cooling, I have chosen the Corsair iQ H100i Elite for this. This is the white edition. They do make it in black. This is all RGB because we're doing another RGB build. Okay, for the cooling, I have got here the Corsair SB120 RGB Elite. I have 4 of these fans right here, which would include 6 fans in the case, but we may only install 5. I haven't decided yet, but we'll address that later on when we are installing them, and I'll decide then. For a power supply, we have the VAG 850 GT 850 watt gold power supply for this. Very good power supply, pretty high end. So we're going to go with this for the build. Alright, so now you're probably wondering, if you didn't watch my previous video, what case are we going to be putting this in? Well, here we go. So I have chosen the Corsair 4000D Airflow Edition. The Airflow Edition just means that it's got a vented panel in the front for better airflow. That is pretty much it. Otherwise, there's no difference between just the regular D model and they do make an RGB model, which is the 4000X, which comes with the same grate. Well, actually, it's a little different grate in the front, and it comes with 3 included RGB fans. So, this is the case we're going to be using. You'll notice right down here, I already had this apart, but right down here in the tray that you can install extra 3.5-inch mechanical hard drives. You'll see this box of accessories and hardware come with the case. I am gonna probably remove this tray in here because it just makes it really hard to install a power supply, or harder. So we're gonna go ahead and just remove this. It's got 2 thumb screws, and your tray simply just picks up and pulls out. You will notice that I'm missing a 2.5-inch SSD bracket right here. I do have it aside because I did do a review on this case. If you want to go ahead and check out the review for this case, by the way, I'll put a link up in the corner right now, so you can click on that and watch that first if you want. In the power supply case, you get your documentation, which hardly anybody reads. You get some sort of you get a couple of Velcro tie downs if you want those. Kind of nice. You get your power cable, plug in the wall. Gonna need that. This comes with a power adapter for your for the main 24-pin power connector that comes with this, so you can turn the power supply on without having to hook it up to the motherboard. We get all of our extension cables. We have our power supply. This sticker on the back, this is your power switch, your on and off. This sticker in the back for the eco mode just represents the fan will stop spinning if the power supply does not need to be cooled. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the power supply with the fan facing downwards. That is what this grate in here is for, with your removable filter. And you just slide it in like that. Then you're going to fit it up to here, line up the holes. You have a hole here, you get another screw hole here, you got one here, and one here. This allows you to flip it over, and that's why it comes with a lot of different screw holes, so you can turn it the other way if you absolutely have to. And we're just going to install the screws. Little word of advice here. When installing a power supply, I did kind of fail to mention, with all these connectors and extension cables that you're going to have to put on, not extension cables, but just the cables that you're going to have to put on to the back of the power supply, sometimes, and most times, it's a good idea to actually put these on prior to putting the power supply in, because sometimes you do not have enough room here. Like, for instance, if we had that tray in here, you wouldn't have enough room to kind of get your hand in here real easily. And also, you can't see what's going on. So, you know, it's always a good idea to put these on first. All right, so let's go ahead and prep our motherboard to be installed. In here, we have our Wi-Fi antenna. And on the bottom of this, we usually have, yeah, I don't know why they keep giving these out, because I don't use these anymore. I don't use CD-ROMs or DVD-ROMs. We got our own owner's manual. We have some Go Faster stickers. And a nice greeting card to let you know all about the product, and they're happy you bought it. And then under this, we have our little fan for the VRMs. You got a keychain. We got 4 SATA cables, 2 90-degree and 2 straight. We have some zip ties. Not quite sure what this is. Not sure what this is. I'll try to find out. It's got a magnet on it, so I'm not sure what this is yet. We have little adhesive stickers, probably for a heat sink of some sort. We have, oh, we're gonna need these. There's some more adhesive sticker. This is your M.2. And these screws are for that fan that I showed first. These screws would go with that. So this has just a little. This is the new technology, or new way of hooking up your M.2 screws. Instead of just a screw, it's kind of got like a. It's a little piece of plastic that turns and locks in the M.2. This has the capability of 4 M.2s. Not all of them are the 4.0. I think there's only 2 of them that are 4.0 and 2 of them that are 3.0. If you notice right up here, this is where that fan would sit, and it's got a couple slits in it. You can do a little bit of adjustment and put your screws up in there. All right, with the CPUs, what you want to do is, a good indication is you have a little arrow here, right? That you have a little arrow and you have a notch here and you have a notch on the other side. Now on the motherboard, right down here in this corner, there is a dot. I know they should put an arrow if you're gonna have an arrow, but that arrow represents that corner for that dot. And another way you can tell is from those notches that I just showed. Okay. On the motherboard, you're gonna have a notch here and a notch here, so you know the direction the CPU is going to sit. So you just want to put one corner in, the other, then set it down. And it should fall in, and you should be able to wiggle it back and forth and it not twist or turn. Don't put any force downwards on it. There's no point in that. Now all you're going to do is lower this lid, like so. And then this is going to take, you got to get it under that screw. And then just put a little bit of down force on it. The lid pops off for you. And boom, CPU is installed. By the way, do not throw this out. You need to keep this in case you need to do an RMA on the motherboard. Let's go ahead and unbox this, because what I need is the bracket for the motherboard before we put the motherboard in. And this is how they package it. You get your two fans, your cooler, your hoses, your pump, and underneath all that, all of your hardware. And you got your screws for your fan. So you have a couple of different adjustments, either all the way in, so these things move in, or all the way out. I believe it's all the way in is what we're going to use. This has a little adhesive a piece here, so you don't have to hold this on while you're trying to thread in the screws for the motherboard. You have two different standoffs, one for Intel 2011 and 2066. We will not be using that, but we are going to be using this 1150X or 1200. We have a 1200 socket. They include a little Allen key. I don't think we'll be using this, but we will see. This is the plate, it looks like, or a changeout. So we're going to be putting that on, probably. I want to point out a couple things on this motherboard here. One, you have like a fabric ROG tag right here, which is kind of unique. We do have some other plastic on here we do have to remove. Oh, they had the peel over here. Oh, that's another piece. That. A lot of plastic pieces on this. Another piece up here. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to adjust, I believe, these all the way in. Make sure all those are in. We're going to take the adhesive part off the back here. This doesn't appear to have any orientation, so you can put it in any direction. Okay, so now what you're going to do, once you got that back plate installed, you'll see the 4 screw holes now, and you're going to take your standoffs there that were meant for the socket 1200 or 1150X. You're going to get yourself a little nut driver. And the orientation of these doesn't matter, they're both the same. Just start threading these in. See, without the RAM in here, it's going to be a lot easier to install the cooler and even the back plate right here. So we're going to get all of these threaded in and started. Go around and snug them up just so they're starting to get a little tight. These aren't going to require a lot of torque, but just go ahead and give them just a little bit of extra oomph. Not a lot. And you'll notice that they stay kind of loose. This I have found is actually kind of normal. They don't have any washers that go under them. Now, I may stand corrected on all that, but it doesn't come with anything. And the instructions say it's just the backing plate and these. I ran into this problem with my other cooler exactly the same, but you can see how loose these are. But they're tight. So it really doesn't matter how loose they are there. It's when it pulls up, when it puts pressure on the CPU and it's pulling up on these, that part is going to matter when you put the nut on here. That has to be tight. In your included hardware that comes with your case, you will get a baggie in here with zip ties and screws. Your motherboard screws should be in here. Here's some washers. Here's some extra fan screws. Whole bunch of zip ties. They give you a couple of extra thumb screws for here in case you misplace one. Let's see. We have some standoffs, some extra standoffs. It looks like we have some screws that will enable you to for the if you have any 2.5 inch SSDs that you want to mount, those are what those are for. And then finally we have our motherboard screws, and they give you an abundance of those. The next thing what you want to do is you want to start assessing your motherboard and how many holes that you have. So if we count up here, we have 1, 2, 3 across. And then if we go under here, which you may, yeah, it looks like you can see you have 1, 2, 3, and that looks good. If you go down here, you have 1 through this hole right here. You got 1 here and 1 here. So there's another 3, and we have 1, and then you have the one that has the nub, so this does not require a screw. Then you have the third one, so we're good there. Now you have an extra 1, 2, 3 at the bottom. Well, not extra, but you have an additional 3 at the bottom. We have 3 at the bottom here. So our motherboard and our case match what we have to do, because what you don't want to end up is with a standoff in one of these other holes that it's not supposed to be, and it hits the back of the motherboard and it can short out. So as we place this up and in here, that little one that has the nub on it is going to be an assistant. Now your best bet is to actually lay this down flat on a bench, but just for show and tell purposes, we are going to do it just like that. And it looks like everything is lining up pretty nicely so far. So let's go ahead and get one of the screws started. Just be careful. Right here would be a good idea, whether it's laying down or not, have a magnetized screwdriver, and that way there are no issues. And boom. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the screws in here. Alright guys, so next we're going to prep our liquid cooler, or our AIO all-in-one cooler. So you can see here that all these coolers come with a plastic cover. Now there's thermal compound on there that you can see in gray. That protective cover on there is protecting that from any contaminants getting on it prior to installation of this. So you just want to keep that on until you're ready to install it. Alright, so I have decided I'm going to install it vertically, and I'm going to push out through the radiator kind of like I would have with the top if I mounted this on the top. So I'm going to mount the fans just as you see them, like this, so basically the airflow is going to be going out through the radiator and out through the front of the case right here. So what you need to do is grab your bag of screws that it came with, dump those out. You do not need washers for this part. All you need is these long screws, and they're going to go right down through and go right into the radiator. So our next prep step is to take our PC, take the front panel off. It just has these little nubs on here. Remove the magnetic screen filter. We need to remove our 120mm fan that's included with the case. Now, the next thing what you need to do is you need to take these short screws, not the long ones, but these short ones, with a washer, and install these. You're going to need 8 of these. So get all those prepped. I wanted to point out the reason why they give you another 8 long screws is because they don't know if you're going to do what's called a push-pull method on a case that would allow you to put 2 additional fans on the other side of the case, whether it be in the front or on the top. So they give you, you would just install 2 more fans on the top and go through those into the through the case into the radiator. So that's why they give you extras. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our radiator and put it in the orientation just like this. Put it all the way to the top, pretty much as high as we're going to be able to get it. Start with putting the screws, and then we can adjust and put it where we want it. One thing I will tell you that I kind of forgot is to take your wire ties off of these wires, and also feed your wires through the back or the other side before you or as you're installing the radiator. This is going to make it a little bit more difficult. I realized that kind of when I was threading in the screws or attaching the screws, but it looks like I will have just enough room to do this, so I'll end up doing that without a problem right now, actually. Okay, so at this time, now you should have out your little bag of hardware that came with your radiator. In that are these thumb screws. All right, let's focus. So you have the threaded portion, and you have where you can put a Phillips on it. You use your hands to kind of start it and hand tighten it, and use the Phillips to tighten it further onto the motherboard. So you can either use your supplied thermal compound that comes with it, which should be good enough for most users. If you're an extreme gamer, you might even be going for a bigger liquid cooler than this. I'm looking to do light gaming. I think this is going to be fine. Worst comes to worst, I have other thermal compounds, so I can change this out. But what we're going to do is remove this. I am first going to take a little bit, because I don't think I touched the CPU, but I may have. So I'm going to clean that up with a Q-tip and just make sure I don't have any contaminants on it. And what you want to get yourself is some 99% alcohol this will do the best job for cleaning electronics. So what you want to do is kind of pre-place this so you kind of get an idea of how you want the piping and all that to come out. It's either that way, or we could do it this way. I'm kind of digging this, but what we would have to do is remove this plate and reorientate this so the logo is facing the correct way. Now you can take your plastic cover off and expose everything. Get one of your thumb nuts ready. Get your thumb nuts on there. Now take your Phillips screwdriver and go in and snug these up. Kind of do a few turns at a time on each, or a couple of turns, and these will bottom out pretty much. And when they bottom out, just snug them up just a little bit more, and your pump is now installed. These cables that are on here, there's two of them. There's one that goes to your lighting node, and this is going to be run to the back. And then there's another single wire one. This just goes to your CPU fan header. That is it. That's where this one goes. All right, let's go ahead and install a couple of more fans for the top. We're going to put two on the top, and we're also going to put one in the rear. These ones are going to be pulling air into the system, so we need to orient them like this, with the bracket portion facing the inside of the case, and with cabling or the wiring facing the back, so we can route it. So it looks like we ran into our first little issue here, and that is that the rear fan is it's hitting the bracket, so it's not going to interfere with the fan itself, but I may lower that radiator slightly. Okay, so right up here I kind of solved the issue. It's if I move the radiator in the lower position, for the slots, not the complete lower position, but the lower position for where it can adjust, the radiator hoses are no longer hitting the fan at all. Okay, so we are going to hook up, since we are going to turn XMP on, I'm going to go ahead and hook up both CPU powers. This takes an 8-pin and a 4-pin for this, just to be on the safe side, so the CPU is getting all that it deserves. Okay, Corsair. This Allen key is plastic. Really? I mean, yeah, I guess you don't want to disturb the paint, but kind of not liking that. So we are going to go ahead and remove this additional bracket for an SSD. We do not need it, and this is where I'm going to put the lighting node anyway, which comes with it. Comes with a couple adhesives. One side is all for your RGB, the other side is for your fans. So I think we are going to just do this. So now what we need to do is peel these stickers off and make sure you get this somewhat even. Get down and look at it. You kind of only get one chance with this. And then hold on the back of the computer and kind of push for a few seconds. Make that bond. We're going to need our 24-pin power connector. So one side that is split like this goes to your power supply unit. The other side that's solid all the way across goes to your motherboard. Alright, so I'm not going to finish the cable management right now, but I do have these white sleeve extension cables that I'm putting on a few select areas, mainly for the 24-pin power supply. But I'm going to finish up this cable management, but first I'm going to do a boot test to make sure it actually boots and we have no problem doing that, and I'm going to do that in a second. Okay, so we are going to have our first boot test and see what happens here. Power supply is now on. You can see we have some RGB going on in there. It's recognizing that we have the 11th gen 11900K at 3.5 gigahertz. We have DDR4 memory. It is currently at 2133 megahertz running. That's because we don't have XMP enabled just yet. Once I get Windows installed and I know everything is good, we're going to turn XMP on. Alright guys, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to get all the cable management complete, and then you're going to see the finished product right after this, and we'll install Windows. And boom! Here it is. The cable management is now complete. The only thing I would have done slightly different is gone with a white power supply. But I just did not want to spend the extra $100 and some odd when I already had a few power supplies around. So this is it. This is what we're going to deal with a white power supply. You probably get some white power cables with it, so that would have been a little nicer in one respect. And some of you guys are probably wondering, like, what is he doing for a graphics card? Because he never mentioned a graphics card. That is true. Right now you can see there's one in there. This is my old graphics card, which is the EVGA GTX 1060. And I know it's, you know, a few generations old. Yes, it works with still a lot of the games. It's not going to hinder me at all. What I want to do is I want to wait until the prices come down on the 380 Ti's. I'm hoping later this year. And I'm looking to get one of those in white. So basically it's really gonna pop here. Maybe even do a vertical mount on this. I'm not sure yet. But nevertheless, the build's complete other than the graphics card. I will have an extra graphics card power supply or power cable coming up to here, which will be another dual white cabling with the comb, the black combs, when it does come. Alright, so now what I want to do for you is just do a quick BIOS update on this. It does require it, so we'll just go ahead and watch that and get through this pretty quickly. I'm not going to show you step by step. I do have other videos that explain exactly how to do this, so check those out. Alright guys, so as you can see the screen behind me, I have successfully updated the BIOS to version 12.02, and now we can go ahead and proceed with our install of Windows 10. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our thumb drive with our Windows 10 media on it, and we're going to put it in the computer, start it up, and install Windows. Well, that's going to be it for me for this one. I hope you enjoyed the content and learned a little something about this white build that I did. It was very interesting to me, and I really liked how it turned out. But other than that, I am done with this. Don't forget to subscribe, share the content, like the video, please, and comment down below if you wish. And until next time, guys, take care.